Impact segment tonight, reaction to my interview with President Obama. Joining us from Washington, Fox News analyst Charles Krauthammer. So what was the headline for you?
The headline is he knows how to run, but he can't always hide. I think the reviewer for the Washington Post, the media critic, was right when, and it's not exactly a right-wing rag, the Washington Post, said that it was a tough but fair interview. He gave you high points. And I think on some issues, he was able to escape. But for instance, on Sebelius, it's true, he never answered it. But he looked pretty weak. It was obvious that he didn't have an answer. But I was interested in the stuff he was showing that wasn't aired. For example, on Keystone, I think he kind of escaped on that because he said, I mean, you said, I assume you're going to approve it, and he gave you the stuff about, well, it's got to be studied, we got to get more input from the other departments, and we got to hear from Secretary Kerry. And you might have said, look, there were a lot of things that might have been said, but you might have said, look, you must be kidding me. You're the one who makes the decision. Everyone knows that.
Well, that's what I said, but I said that I'll take that as a yes. He's going to approve the pipeline. I'll tell you right now.
I don't know that he's going to approve it.
He will.
All I know is that he's waited 5.5 years to the point where the Canadian foreign minister had to come to Washington, and what for a Canadian was an explosion of rage, politely said, you can't keep us on the hook forever. So, I mean, the very fact that this thing has been studied for 5.5 years.
No, I know, it's absurd.
It is the most studied pipeline in the history of earthly liquids. This is longer than the Second World War, and he's still holding out.
I think he's going to approve it before the election in November to try to give the Democrats some cover. I would be surprised if he doesn't. Now, the usual, and by the way, the Washington Post did not run the review in its newspaper, just on the internet, which was interesting. We have Goldberg coming up on it. Take a look at that. But the far right and far left hated the interview. They're always going to hate it. They want you to either hurt him or, give him a pass and let him talk for 10, 20 minutes straight. But I believe that, here's what I took away, and let me see if you concur. I don't think the president thinks that my questions about the IRS, Benghazi, and the rollout of Obamacare are important. He doesn't think they're important. He said, in his own mind, in his administration, he feels he's doing what's right for the country. Ultimately, he'll be proven correct. And these are just little annoyances. And that's why he just doesn't even answer, and then he attacks Fox News for asking.
I'm not even sure anymore. Because if he thinks it's unimportant, then he's delusional. And I think he's not a delusional man. I think he's also very smart. I think he largely pretends that these are distractions, that these are stuff invented by Fox as a way to deflect them. Look, Benghazi's a disaster, and it really sits at his door and at Secretary Clinton's door, and he knows that. And when he tells you that, they were straight with this is simply not true. The fact that a week after it happened, he's on The View, and he pretends that they're still looking into this to see whether it was an out-of-control demonstration is simply shocking.
Yeah, and do you believe Panetta told him what General Ham told him? Do you believe that?
We'll never know, but of course he told him.
Now when you say that, though, but tell the folks why you believe that Panetta...
Because, look, the general in charge, General Ham, has said publicly that he knew within 15 minutes. 15 minutes he knew it was a terror attack. Hicks, our guy in Tripoli, said he knew immediately it was a terror attack. All the evidence, all of the people on the ground, our security guards, the diplomatic security at the Benghazi consulate, knew immediately. Obama said to you in the interview it wasn't well organized. In the bipartisan report from the Senate, Democrats and Republicans, they say in that report it was organized.
Absolutely.
A direct contradiction.
I said they use but let me ask you one more question because I'm running out of time here. Do you believe, as I told the president, that the reason he and his acolytes wouldn't say right away it was a terror attack was because of the election?
Of course. There's no other reason.
Right.
Why would you send out the UN ambassador with a tale that was preposterous from the beginning? Remember, our guy in Tripoli, Higgs, he said that when he watched the interview, his jaw dropped because he knew it wasn't true, and he knew that everyone knew it wasn't true. Why would you do that if you were not trying to cover? And Obama said, well, if it was a cover-up, how come it came out? Well, it came out slowly. It was deflected. They stonewalled, and he got through the election without this becoming a big issue.
All right,
and
Charles.
that's all they cared about, was to get through the election.
Wasn't a boring interview, right?
It was better than the game by far. And the score was closer in the interview than it was in the game.
All right, Charles. And don't forget to check out Charles's big bestseller, Things That Matter.